All right, well, let's start with, just so we have it all in one place, everyone's name, how you spell it, and what part of the state you represent. John, go ahead.
I'm John Bucy, Johnbucy, and I represent Austin, Williamson County.
I'm Ann Johnson, ANNJOHNSON, represent part of Houston, including the Medical Center.
James Talarico, James, T as in Tom, Alarico. I represent Central Texas, Travis County.
All right. We are not in Texas anymore, are we? Bottom line it for us, why are you here?
You know, special sessions in Texas are meant for emergencies, and we had an emergency in Texas. We had a cabin full of 8-year-old girls get washed away in the middle of the night. We had families calling 911, begging for help, only to be told by operators that no help was coming. Ultimately, 137 Texans lost their lives. That's an emergency worthy of our time, our attention, and our action. You know, Greg Abbott is prioritizing Donald Trump with this special session. Instead of taking action to help the flood victims of Central Texas, he is prioritizing trying to steal 5 congressional seats from the people of Texas. This isn't just a Texas fight, this is an American fight that will impact all of us. So Texas Democrats ran into the fight by coming to Illinois to stand up for the people of our state.
Representative Johnson, he says you're running into the fight. You know that Republicans in the state, Republicans out of the state, look at what you guys are doing and thinking you're running away from the fight. You're running away from your jobs by not being in Austin today.
Yeah, no, abandoning your job is going to Cancun in the middle of a deadly freeze, right? Abandoning your job is cutting health care when people need access. Abandoning your job is cutting public education when we already have one of the worst education systems in the nation. What we are doing is the fundamental protection by our founding fathers in the Texas Constitution that says the minority party has the opportunity to break quorum when you know that the majority has really gone off the rails. The fact that Texas Republicans are willing to sell their soul, sell out their state, and sell out the American people to serve the interest of Donald Trump and give him 5 seats at a time where we know he is afraid of voters voting on his policies next November in 2026. When Donald Trump called Georgia Republicans and said, I just need you to find me 11,000 votes, they said, no, sir, that's a step too far. But when he called Texas Republicans and said, I need you to steal me 5 seats, they said, does July work for you? Well, it doesn't work for us as Texas Democrats. This is not just about our voters, it's about the nation. And it's important for people to know they have threatened us personally. They have threatened our arrest, they have threatened our jobs, they have threatened us. The solution is if we show up today at 3 o'clock and sit and be quiet, then we get to keep ours. But it kills the voice of everybody in this country. And so we won't sit and shut up to have them shut up the voices of voters.
Y'all have done this before, and ultimately after a few weeks it ends, everyone goes back to Austin, and Republicans ultimately get what they want. How is this time going to be any different?
I actually disagree with that. In 2021, my colleagues here and I broke quorum to stop a voter suppression bill. And by breaking quorum and shining a spotlight, a national spotlight, on that voter suppression effort, it pressured the Republicans in Texas to take out the worst parts of that bill, the ban on souls to the polls, Sunday morning voting, which African-American churches use in Texas to get their people to the polls, a provision that would have allowed Republicans to overturn election results that they didn't like. All of that was taken out because we broke quorum. So this is an effective tool in our toolbox to fight for our constituents and make harmful legislation less dangerous. We're hopeful that's what will happen here.
So then is the end goal, if not to completely redraw the map, to redraw it in a less Republican way?
I think our goal is to pressure blue states who have a Democratic trifecta to threaten retaliation and maybe even move forward with that retaliation. Because if one side is going to cheat, all bets are off. And maybe that kind of pressure will convince our Republican colleagues and the president to walk back from the brink, because none of us want gerrymandered states. Gerrymandering is wrong whether Democrats do it or Republicans do it. Every state should have an independent, citizen-led redistricting commission so that voters are choosing their politicians, politicians aren't choosing their voters.
But not until the other side does it first.
Well, we can't unilaterally disarm.
Yeah, and that's what they're asking us to do, which is we get to do it, but you don't.
Right.
And so we're not afraid. We've all been engaged in trying to promote this legislation. We're not afraid of letting the voters pick our lines, and we run fairly. The Republicans don't want to do that. And that's what people need to know. This is not normal. It is not normal that midway through the decade, we have a constitutional amendment that says you can redistrict once every 10 years. It is not normal for them to say, hey, we're only 5 years in, but we're nervous about what might happen next November. Texas, you redraw the lines. They're not only changing the game, they're trying to put us on a different field. And so if Republicans want to go there, how do you not expect Democrats to stand back up? This is about the voice of the voters.
You know, Greg Abbott is the only person that can call a special session. Our chairman said yesterday we have effectively killed the rest of this special session. We're ready to go work with him on helping the Central Texans that were affected by the flood. He needs to get his priorities straight. He needs to take care of the people of Texas, and we'll all get to work. And we're welcoming him back to the table to have those conversations.
So let's say he calls you tomorrow and says, okay, come back and we'll do the flooding first.
Too late. I'm on the committee that's been hearing it. We've been doing hearings for 2 weeks. We've been there for 2 weeks. We have agenda items for 2 weeks. They have put one bill before us for a hearing. One bill, only redistricting. We've had time. We've had the opportunity. They have proven this is not about anything else. It's about them serving the interest of Trump and only Trump.
Yeah, let's be honest about what this is. Donald Trump is scared. His policies aren't going to win the day. He knows it, so he's colluding with Greg Abbott to steal the 2026 midterm elections. That's what's at stake here. If Governor Abbott wanted to help the flood victims, he could be using executive power today. He's using us as tools to try to get to his work to help Donald Trump.
And it's even worse than misplaced priorities. He's using flood victims and their families as leverage to do Donald Trump's bidding and rig the next election. I mean, this is rock bottom. It's disgusting, it's immoral, and we should all reject it regardless of our political party.
Now, you all agree then that Democrats in other states, if they can, should try to do something similar and redraw their maps?
No, what we want is for Greg Abbott to come to a census, put the people of Texas first, and get back to the work for the people of Texas and the flood victims. Let's stop this charade to try to steal the 2026 midterms. Let's have everybody put down their weapons and let's go home and work for the people of Texas.
Given that it doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
Well, we're here to push for that to happen.
Hope is a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
Let's walk through some of the specifics of you being here. How long could this go on?
In what sense?
How long are you going to be here in Illinois?
So, you know, we are from Texas and we love football. When the other side is first and goal at the one, you play defense. And right now the game and the play ahead of us is finishing out this session. So we have until the end of this session to show that we are unified to break quorum. It is up to Governor Abbott, because he has the procedural mechanism to call us back over and over and over again. It is up to him what he thinks is a priority for us. Does he want us back to serve the interests of the people of Texas, or does he want to call us back to serve Trump? And so I think today you will see Texas Democrats are unified, that we recognize the one bill they want is to buy 5 seats. 5 seats, because the big ugly bill passed by 1 vote. That's what they want, and we're saying no. We're not going to dismantle the voices of our voters.
Halfway through this special session, we've had 8 hearings on redistricting and only 2 on helping the people of the flood. That's unacceptable, and it shows where Governor Abbott's priorities are.
I'll also just add it's appropriate that we are in the land of Lincoln, because Abraham Lincoln, when he was a state senator in 1840, broke quorum by jumping out of a window at the Illinois State Capitol. Thankfully, we didn't have to jump out of a window, but we are participating in a long American tradition of standing up to bullies, of speaking truth to power, of civil disobedience, of good trouble, and we're proud to do it.
So halfway through the session, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying we'll be here for the other half until that special session is set to expire.
Yeah, that's what we've all committed to.
Okay, so 2 weeks roughly.
Yep.
If at that point he calls another one and says, I want to do it again, flooding and redistricting,
We'll assess our options.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're here. We're here to remind the people we're supposed to work for them.
Right.
They're not supposed to serve the interest of Trump. So this is to shine a light again, a second time, on Texas Republicans putting a priority on politics instead of policy. It's time for people to speak up and say, look, y'all get back to work. You got problems you got to solve. You need to address health care. You need to address public education. You need to address the Texas grid. And right now you need to address the issue of flood mitigation and extreme weather in Texas. So talk about those issues. Don't bring us up here to redraw lines. I don't have a single constituent that likes the idea of going in on election day and already knowing the outcome of the election. because politicians picked you, as opposed to you picking your politicians. So let's get back to allowing folks to draw the lines in such a way that makes everybody's vote matter.
Another specific about you guys being here. Who's paying for all this?
I mean, that's the hit on all of us, right? And that's the hit on our group, is to be able to do this. And so you're right, it is an expense. And that's part of where we are. They're threatening personal fines, they're threatening arrest, they're threatening vacating our job. They are threatening us. And we know why they're threatening us, because the threat worked for them. When Trump threatened to primary them and have them lose their seat, they gave in and they gave him what he wanted. If you're not willing to lose the job, to do the job, then that's not public service. And so we're here because it is a sacrifice. It is public service.
You know, we're fighting for democracy, and we're putting everything on the line. We're here because if we don't do this, and if Donald Trump gets his way, then we know our constituents are going to suffer. They're going to continue to cut health care. They're going to continue to cut public education funding, and that's unacceptable for the future of this country.
But you all are accepting donations from either Texas and out-of-state Democrats, right?
And that's the beauty. You know, we're fighting for the people, and the people are the ones funding this quorum break. We have been flooded with grassroots donations across the state of Texas from our constituents, Democrats, independents, and some Republicans who want us to fight for free and fair elections. And that's how we're funding this operation, and we're proud to have that be our source of income.
The governor says it's a bribe.
Where was he when Ken Paxton was going through his court case?
Well, and the contrast is stark. Greg Abbott took $12 million from an out-of-state billionaire to defund our public schools. We're relying on grassroots donations from ordinary Texans to stand up for their voice in the democratic process. I'm fine with that contrast.
And other people from out of state. I mean, to be fair, there's
Sure.
money coming from other
because
places.
this is
the
not,
governor's helping you.
And this is
Governor of
not
Illinois.
this is not just a Texas problem. This is an American problem. Because if Donald Trump is able to rig the next election, he won't have any check on his power. He'll be able to keep wrecking our economy, starting wars, protecting pedophiles without any accountability. And so this is about whether or not we're going to have checks and balances in the future. This is a national problem, not just a Texas problem.
Governor, the Attorney General say they may seek your arrest. You willing to go to jail over this?
We knew there were going to be consequences. And I think all of us know that this is bigger than us as individuals. It's bigger than the jobs we have. We are fighting for the American experiment. We're fighting for representative democracy and whether or not that will continue. And so we're willing to face whatever consequences may come our way.
But also want to make sure people recognize this threat of arrest, this is not normal. Do not think that we can turn into a nation where you arrest and jail your political opposition for not only rendering their voice for the people, but doing something that is protected by the Texas Constitution. A quorum break is written into the Texas Constitution. It is a tool our founding fathers gave us. The threat of arrest is something that should be a red alarm for a lot of folks.
Well, I just want to say it's very consistent. Greg Abbott is trying to silence the voices of Texans and prevent them from picking the elected officials of their choice. And now he's literally saying he's going to remove the representatives that the people have put into office. So he's taken a page out of Donald Trump's authoritarian playbook, and it's something we should all reject.
You know, the people of Texas want leadership, and Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton have shown that they are afraid of that. They're only going to do what Donald Trump tells them to do, and we're trying to offer that. We're trying to fight for the people of Texas because they've turned their backs on them, and that's why we're here. And so we're not afraid of the consequences. When we heard Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton's threats yesterday, it just made us know that they were scared. They were scared they weren't going to be able to do the bidding of the president, and that we were here doing the right thing. And we're standing up for 31 million Texans while we do this.
You know there are Democrats in your state, Democrats in your caucus, Democrats who represent you in Congress, and Democrats all across the country who say if Texas Republicans are going to do this, Democrats have got to do this in some states where they have full control. In essence, fight fire with fire. Do we not run the risk, though, of burning it all down if this keeps up?
Look, we're trying to raise awareness. That's our main thing. We want this to stop. We want Greg Abbott to back down. There was a Republican in Congress in California that today filed a bill to make a national stop to this because they understand that what we're doing is raising the conversation and that this would be bad for everybody. So to your point, yes, we run that risk. Greg Abbott needs to back down, and then everybody can back down, and we can go back to working for the people of Central Texas that need help right now. We want the American people to know that this isn't a Texas problem, this is an American problem. We're talking to everyone across the country because if Greg Abbott and Donald Trump get away with stealing 5 seats in Texas, that's just the beginning. And it will impact all of us. We're talking about less health care for every American, less support for our public schools, and Texas will just be the beginning. They will bring this policies and procedure to every state. So all Americans must take this threat seriously. They must join us in this resistance as we stand up and fight back against Donald Trump and what he's trying to do right now in Texas.
Yet don't forget, last year they did this in North Carolina. They just needed to move 4 seats in North Carolina, and he got his bill by 1 vote. And so now he needs 5 seats in Texas. When we say it is time for Democrats to stand up and say, look, you guys can't keep moving the playing field. You want to do it, the American people ought to expect that we ought to do it too. Or we reach this point where we say, you know what, you guys should stop drawing lines. Let the people draw the lines. And we're fine with that.
I think the only thing I would add is that this is not an issue of party, it's an issue of power. Yes, Democrats and Republican politicians both gerrymander, and it's wrong in both instances. This is particularly egregious, it's particularly brazen, particularly discriminatory in the middle of a decade. That's why we're here. But we have to end this practice once and for all. People in power want to stay in power, and so they rig the game, they rig the system in their favor. It's time for the American people, regardless of their political party, to stand up against it.
And to the Republican charge that you guys leaving the state allows them to turn around and say they're playing games, they're trying to draw attention to this, they're avoiding the flood debate, you say what?
We have to use every tool in the toolbox. We have a constitutional right to break quorum. It's something that we are doing. Quorum means withholding, and that's what our constituents want them to do, is to stop this bill any way we can. This is one of the tools that we have, and so we're using it.
This is kind of like the bully that takes your lunch money every day. At some point, you got to stand up. Otherwise, you just end up broke and hungry. And so that's where we are politically. We've told Republicans, enough, you've gone way too far.
And they're using the flood victims to muddy the water here. I would challenge the American people to look and listen and see if the Republicans actually defend these maps. That's what I want to hear. They may point at something else to try to distract the American people. Let's see if they'll actually defend the maps that they've just drawn.